Sputnik. Lithuania has called on the European Union countries to support the creation of a cyber Schengen to battle online crime and hacking. While NATO already has a cyber rapid reaction force, Lithuanian Defense Vice Minister Evinas Kerza said it is necessary to have a complementary force under European Union auspices. He said it was easier to talk about joint efforts in cyberspace in Europe than in NATO. The first meeting of such forces took place in Vilnius earlier in February. Half of the European Union's 28 member states took part, and at least 7 have signed up as members of the force. According to Mr. Kerza, the European Union force will have a global impact and will help countries to protect civilian infrastructure and counter hackers' attacks. Lithuania earlier said it was hit by some 50,000 cyber attacks last year.
And to discuss this, we're joined live by Curran, Professor of Cybersecurity at the Faculty of Computing, Engineering and the Built Environment at Ulster University, Northern Ireland. Professor, thank you for joining us on Radio Sputnik.
You're welcome, Lana.
How different will this new cyber force be from the NATO Cyber Rapid Reaction Force?
It seems it will have a different objective, which is really to do with civilian infrastructure. Of course, NATO have a cyber rapid reaction force for several years now, and that protects NATO's own networks. And they have a centralized and around-the-clock cyber defense support for various NATO sites. And this handles report incidents and disseminates important incident-related information to management of security. And but this new initiative by Lithuania is more designed to protect also civilian infrastructure, which is under attack, because when it comes to this NATO Cyber Rapid Reaction Force, that is more concentrated on secrets on government levels and military. But the fact is that quite often with cyber attacks now, that other countries, when they're attacking, or even individual or highly skilled cyber hack teams, that they actually infiltrate civilian networks, civilian organizations, and cause rapid damage within a country. So therefore it's more likely if you have a cyber reaction force which allows information to be shared between countries, similar to what NATO does, what the NATO cyber reaction force does, but people are more likely to sign up because top secrets basically aren't being passed across the borders. But still the countries are coming together to collaborate and of course provide more effective plans to be able to protect their networks.
You speak of countries coming together. How likely is the new force to attract new members from European countries besides the 7 existing ones?
It has a chance, of course. Again, maybe people will stick to what's already there with the NATO Cyber Task Force, but I think the fact is that this has, from the ground up, not concentrating on the secret, on the military aspects. And again, it's more to do with protecting infrastructure within civilian populations. Because in the past, cyber aggression was seen as a technical issue to be outsourced to technicians. But now we know that cyberspace is an official domain of warfare. And state actors are increasingly meeting geopolitical goals, not only through, obviously, the traditional military force that they did for centuries, but now through discrete cyber tools. And of course that, and we have disinformation campaigns, and Lithuania have given examples of fake news and cyber operations which are targeted at their government and at their infrastructure. And again, these need to be responded to. So countries need to collaborate really to be more effective in protecting what has become a modern, a problem really, especially we've seen with the problem of ransomware now, which, even in the UK, last year, the National Health Service was brought to its knees because of a ransomware attack which demanded payment through Bitcoin. And really what we had was a critical part of our infrastructure was wiped out for a number of days.
You've just mentioned fake news, accusations. What about Russia? What response could it provide to accusations that its hackers are responsible for cyber attacks against Europe?
Yeah, it is difficult because when it comes to cyber attacks, what countries do, they always, attribution is very difficult. In other words, they will make it look like a particular attack is coming from another country, that they will pepper the code with comments They will, anything they can do to make sure that they are not pinpointed as the source. So therefore, many attacks which Russia get the blame for actually are not from Russia. But likely then there could be many other attacks which actually other countries are blamed for, which actually might have come from Russia. So it's very, very difficult because attribution, when it comes to looking through source code, it is very hard to pinpoint which country was involved because, of course, we have very highly skilled people that do these malware. But it's always down to transparency. As much as you can open up, within reason about what you do, that can help. For instance, there's one of the leading people behind the internet, really, behind the infrastructure is Huawei, which are Chinese. But the US government will not take and tell their, or telling their national citizens to not use Huawei infrastructure. But of course, in the UK, what Huawei did was set up a center close to the GCHQ, which are basically the spies for the United Kingdom, and allow them to examine the source code, allow them to examine the code to see are there any flaws or are there any backdoors. So when it comes to things like that, there are things you can do. But when it comes to actually a country trying to, really protect its reputation, it is very difficult in the long run to be able to do that.
On that note, I'd like to thank you, Professor, for joining us today on Radio Sputnik. It was great having you on our show. Thank you very much. We were joined live by Kevin Curran, Professor of Cybersecurity at the Faculty of Computing, Engineering and the Built Environment, Ulster University, Northern Ireland.